Live with Uncle Vito.
Hey, Michael, how you doing, Gombad?
What's up? Here's that each.
A little of this, a little of that,
All right, let me get. All right, well, cool. Vito, what the hell's going on, man?
Well, we're watching the complete and total decimation of the arts in New York State, my friend.
I'm glad you said so, or you at least you said it right out. No bullshit.
Yeah, I'm not going to pull any punches in this. Um, they're tearing apart the industry. Mike, people who depend on these gigs for their livelihood, people who have trained their entire lives to entertain people and to play at the best of their ability. These people are being stifled now. We can't make a move, and unfortunately, a lot of the clubs and venues, they're under the foot of the Fuhrer that runs New York State, and he's pulling as the liquor license from places.
Oh, he's sending the sheriffs to come count how many people in your house.
Yeah, not in Rensselaer County, they didn't. That's for sure.
Let me bring everybody up to speed about how I know you, and that was through our short little friend who can she can kind of sing.
The dynamite, the dynamo,
the powerhouse.
She's unreal, man. The vocal range on this girl. But go ahead. I'm sorry. We're both Italian, so we talk a lot.
Yeah, this is going to be a stomp fest on top of each other. But I met you a few months after I started helping with Mo, and I met Josh and started that fan club. But I met you, or originally was introduced to you by the first time you interviewed Mo. And yep. I listened to it live, and I was recording it for the fan club, and I heard that same mind-boggled, blown away in your voice that I had, and how many other people had, and that was it. And then we started talking, and even back then I said, when I saw what you do, and this is what I was trying to tell people, that you're a huge supporter of new music, and like you said, the arts and these young bands. You are instrumental in your area up there, and you're in Troy, right?
Yes, unfortunately.
Well, but I mean that area, and I do tell this to a lot of people, and this also, I had Nick Stamus on the other day.
Great player. Nick's a great player.
Yes, he is. But the scene up there was super healthy, tons of venues, tons of music, inside, outside, 52 weeks a year, 365 days. And then, just like I said, the plug got pulled on everything. And that's where I said, it's time I got to get Vito in here and what you've done this year, adjusting. And, I don't even know what to say anymore, because we don't know what's coming next. We're looking at maybe another full state lockdown any day now.
Well, thank God. See, with my day job, I'm the tourism and special events director for Rensselaer County, mm-hmm. which, for some of your listeners, is in upstate New York.
You're Albany, just say that.
Yeah, well, no, we're not Albany. Oh. We're not Albany. We're a whole different animal than Albany.
No, I'm saying, is it the next county?
Close to it, yes, right next to us. But, I work for a guy, Steve McLaughlin's his name. And Steve was a New York State Assemblyman representing the 107th District up here for quite a few years. And then he ran for county exec. And, that's when I went to work for him as his special events tourism director. He's in full support of the arts and full support of, giving people normalcy in their lives. So Rensselaer County, thank God we have some town supervisors who were willing to try it, doing the outdoor concerts all summer. Well, Michael, long story short, We pulled off 13 straight weeks. And every single one of those shows, we had more than the 50 people. That was the mandate from the governor. And we pulled it off. We did it safely. We had to draw these ridiculous freaking crop circles
Seeing them,
for people to stand in, and herd them in like cattle. I'll give you a real funny story. Now in Troy, you probably know I've been managing and producing the Powers Park concert series for the past 17 years. The mayor in Troy wanted us to follow the state mandates, which is for an outdoor concert, 50 people, which includes the band, the sound. If you're not doing it half-assed, you've got a sound company there also. So Powers Park is in the north end of Troy, and it encompasses a full city block, and it's wrought iron gated park, which we brought to life 17 years ago with this concert series. Now we get a small crowd is around 500. We top out at about $2,000 up there. So we played the game for the first few weeks. The first week of the series this year, it was very important to me because there was a local musician. He just turned 40 years old. His name was Josh Bloomfield. Josh had terminal cancer, and he was a great drummer, singer, just the funniest guy you ever want to meet. We knew this was going to be his last time on stage, so it was important. So we played the game. We had to set up bike racks in the back of the official concert area. The back of the park is a public access park. We couldn't stop people from coming in. So that first week I had 28 people in the concert area and 650 people standing behind the bike racks. Now, how asinine is that? After a few weeks, the mayor saw the folly of it and allowed us to take the bike racks down. People had a great time. They were wearing their mask to make other people feel comfortable, even if they didn't agree with it. And it's something I'm not a big fan of, let's put it that way. But they followed the rules. When they walked through the concert area to go to the food vendors, the bathrooms, they had to put their mask on. I have a zero tolerance policy. Anything that I manage and produce, Mike. I didn't want, and the councilman I work with, Jim Gully's his name, we didn't want for people to go out without music. So we ran this right up till September the 15th, I think, somewhere around there. But we also had throughout the county 5 other concert series going on. So I was handling safety protocol for a lot of these places for the county. It worked. The end of the season was phenomenal. A local orchard contacted me, and I had worked with them a little bit last year. And they were looking to fill up 4 weeks, Saturdays and Sundays of music. Full band on Saturday, acoustic, duo, trio on Sundays. You wouldn't believe the people. You would think they were going to the garden, for God's sakes. They came out for the apple picking and this incredible bakery and all these other little amenities the farm has. But it was the music. It was the driver. First week, we had over 5,500 people, Mike.
Wow.
It was insane. People were happy. They were social distancing. They were wearing their mask around other people. But when they were in their own space, we didn't require them. We had the crop circles and all the other crap that's required. Mm-hmm. But point is this. thousands of people, close proximity of each other, eating food, drinking fresh brews. We had a brewery there. A cidery was also there. Nobody got sick. Nothing got traced back to the county, to any of these events. Please explain that to me. I mean, Mike, this wasn't, 20 people
Well, without
watching a folk guitarist.
without
These were
looking
bands.
right, without looking at it, from either direction, you said you did everything the way that they specified, correct?
Yes.
And
We
you had
followed it.
over 5,000 people. Like, I mean, I don't think I know anywhere other than what you just told me of that many in one group. And we definitely would have heard about it if something happened, right?
Yeah.
They would have made it news like everything else.
We had over
The thing is, what you said
this,
is there's a
go
way
ahead.
to do it safely is the bottom line. At least for now to adapt and adjust to have, at least some semblance of an existence, I guess the word is. Because like you said, right now, if you go down to New York City, it's a fucking ghost town. You got no Broadway, you got no venues, you got restaurants that are at 25%, which that most don't even want to open because it costs more to operate at 25% than it does to stay closed and doing takeout. But to keep the scene going up there, you found a way to do it and do it safely.
Yeah, but
For now,
a lot of these concert series, they had an economic impact on the communities where they were held.
Mhm.
My Powers Park concerts, for instance, I speak with the business owners up here all the time. They usually spike 10 to 15% on a Saturday night when the show's going on.
Right.
So this is the part that people don't understand. What these community concerts, what these concerts in general, what they bring to the table afterwards, people spending dollars, keeping small businesses alive.
Restaurants, going to diners, going to the gas station, everywhere.
Yeah, seriously. And, Troy, like many other communities, they had to get creative this year and they really pulled it off. They did the outdoor dining and all that, which is nice. The city was gracious enough to shut down these certain streets so they could do it because, we don't have the expanse of a Manhattan or Brooklyn, whatever. It's a smaller town and it's, historic in nature. And it not just Troy, but around the county itself. The businesses had to get very creative. We tried to help them as much as we could, but it's hard. I spoke to one restaurant owner very recently. I went in for a takeout order, and it was within my county. And I said, "It's good that you guys are open." He says, "Vito, people are so scared. I can have 50%, but I'm running at 20% because people are scared to come in." He says, "My takeout business is doing great. But you've been coming." And I mean, I've been going to this place. I was underage and I was going there drinking in 1972 when they opened. Michael, you could get a club sandwich for $1.75 there back then, and a pizza for 85 cents.
Wow.
But, he said, "You've been coming here since we opened."
Mm-hmm.
You know what this place is like, and it's always jammed. Parking lot's full. Dinosaur Barbecue. We've lost it. We've lost the entertainment portion of it now. They were doing bands on Saturday or Friday and Saturday nights. John Stage, the owner of Dinosaur, he is a big proponent of all music, in particular blues and actual rock and roll. So Dinosaur has been the biggest restaurant tax generator in this county for years. This was their 10th anniversary. And I was working for the city as the event coordinator when the former mayor, Harry Tutungin, brought them in. People yelled and screamed, Michael, said, oh, you're giving them tax breaks for 10 years. Well, the 10 years is up. They're at full assessment, and it's riverfront property, okay? And it's worked. But the point is, I went there, pick up some takeout the other night. Parking lot usually at 4 or 5 o'clock is jamming. It's jamming. Their customers are parking out in the street. Quarter full. And this is some kick-ass barbecue. So this is what it's doing. This whole shutdown, this bullshit that it is. I'm sorry. You know, I know there's going to be some people watching this and aren't going to agree with me, but I'm going to use the big box store argument. You got hundreds of people milling around and shopping and touching things or whatever.
I know.
That's good, huh?
That's okay.
Can't have 100 people in a nightclub supporting a small business owner. Bite me. Seriously.
Well, you know what, Vito, it's got to be said. See, that's the problem. There's two sides to every argument. But recently, without going too deep into it, there seems to only be one side of any argument. And if you don't agree with that side, you know what happens then. You know, without
you're called everything under the book, under the sun, rather. You're this, you're that, because you don't think like they do.
Right.
I'm sorry. I
mean, but,
I know.
But you also brought up another good point about people being afraid. And I saw this the other day. I had to go get a new battery for my phone. And I finally made it over. And I'm like, what are the chances I got to come here on whatever, Black Friday? So I waited. And I said, fuck it, I'm going to go in. And I had to go to Home Depot, and I just went on to 17, and there's the Galleria. And I looked, and I'm going, there's nobody here. So I parked around back by the Target and went in that way. And I mean, I parked 3 rows away, which is normal. And this is Black Friday. And I said, hey, I know a lot of people are shopping online. But when I got inside and I walked through the mall, there was nobody there. And then the numbers came back. And just like you said, it's not just the restaurants. Because I've gone and sat down and had dinner at a few places that I enjoy most, an Italian restaurant. And there's, like you said, there's nobody sitting there out of fear. I'm not saying I'm going out I'm not licking the tables trying to get COVID-19. But, what are we going to do this winter? All those outdoor concerts, you can't have them anymore, right?
Well, there's still some places that are putting up the big tents,
okay,
with the heaters in there, keeping the attendance down under 100 people in these tents. There's more than enough room to social distance. But this is upstate New York, and it gets like the twilight zone, come January. Forget it.
We had snow, right?
So, we're going to get, Mike? A lot of empty buildings.
Yeah.
You're going to get people who have invested their lives in these music venues are just going to say, screw it, I'm going to do something else. Right. Why wouldn't they? Think about it.
Well, it's like any other. This is something I tell people on the page, Keep Rock Alive, is, we're all looking at it from, one perspective, and that's either rock fans or like the Save Our Stages thing that they're doing. I mean, and I think that's, I respect that, but we can't, as a business, it doesn't matter what it is you're selling. Let's say the venue sells live music and it's a restaurant and a bar. Okay.
Right.
If you stay closed for a year, I don't care if you're selling, food or clothing or shoes or jewelry or anything. And your presence, especially that as a live venue, we've already seen you can't survive online with that. You're not selling a physical product. You go out of business. And even offering these loans, that in theory, it sounds good until you have to pay them back. And then, and how long can they?
Mike, that's what a lot of people don't realize with this, when they were grabbing the extra 600 a week on the unemployment, that next year you're going to be paying on the taxes on that money.
Yeah,
But
not free, but it's the illusion.
But you know, my big thing is what's happening to my local music scene.
I get it.
Great musicians that are sitting home. They're doing nothing. Some of them are putting the time to good use. They're writing, they're recording, and they're keeping their chops up for when all this nonsense ends. And I've been really getting some great music, and not just from this area. We got this this new band. What's her name? You may have turned me on to a Madhouse.
Yep.
They're like the Ramones on steroids, in my opinion. They just sent the radio station I'm with their new music. I listened to it 3 times. They're single, and the more I listened to it, the more I liked it. You know, it was like the first time I listened to Deep Purple's Machine Head.
Yeah,
You got some songs that stood out on that album,
right.
But I was listening to Lazy, and I wasn't quite sure how I liked it the first time. But after 2 or 3 times, I says, "This is happening," and I mean that's usually a staple of my show. I always throw, even though it's a 7-minute song, it eats up a lot of time. I love throwing Lazy in there. But it's the same thing with this group here. And, you know, with these guys, Monster Truck, Griffin Tucker, Mariah Carey, of course, really gives you hope for the future of rock because they're doing it correctly. There's another group I've been following out of Canada, Bedrock. Guys are a little bit older.
Yep.
Holy shit, Mike. They're producing. I mean, the music, their original material, it has all their songs have components of a hit. A great chorus, solid melody, and a hook in the song. This is what people don't understand when they're recording. They'll write these long, drawn out love songs, or this. It's like they're wailing. I don't want to hear it. Okay, it's not stuff I'm going to play on my show.
You and I are like, this is why we hit it off right away back in a few years ago. We see, I keep my opinion out of Keep Rock Alive because a lot of that music that you just said that isn't your taste or mine either, I still throw it out there because, you know, it's somebody else's taste.
Yes,
but
I understand.
Most rock and roll fans like us and in general want those that mainframe structure of a rock. What is a rock and roll song? And I always gravitate to that. You gravitate to that. You know, that's what we consider rock and roll. And that's it. And that's fine. And it can be done by new, like you said, there's new artists out here that put a fresh spin on it. It's still true to its roots, but it's brand new. And it's recognizable.
Listen to groups like Dirty Honey.
I know you were the guy last year. You posted it, and I think you tagged me on Facebook. Last summer.
Yes.
I immediately put it up. I tagged you, and then all of a sudden, everybody like just heard of them, and so you caught them right. I guess was that the beginning of when they kind of broke out.
Well, someone had told me that their lead singer was from my area, and Mark LaBelle, he was from the Niskayuna area, which is just west of Troy. So naturally, the local appeal was there, and I just started listening to these guys. They just blew me away. It was like almost like a revelation. I said, "Holy shit, they're good."
That's what I said. I said to you, "I'm stealing this." I'll never forget. That was how I responded. So
you turned me on to Greta Van Fleet, and I love those guys.
That was 2 years ago when they first came out at Highway Tune.
They're getting into that phase where I I think you're going to see them going more commercial. I was just reading an interview with the singer whose name it kind of escapes me. And I think they almost took offense that people were comparing them to Led Zeppelin.
It's a big, if you've been watching some of the chat, it's a big to do because what they did was, and I even, when it happened, I said, this is going to blow up in their face. When they basically denied their influence, meaning, oh, we never, Robert Plant and Led Zeppelin had no impact on our music. Like 90% of the rock crowd went, what?
Why would you say something like that?
Well, you know what the media does. Now, this is the, what I call the dichotomy of all this shit. Most of the older rock fans will say one of two things. The new music sucks. It doesn't sound anything like the rock and roll we grew up with or what rock and roll really is. Okay,
right.
That's one. Then you got the other guy that says they sound way too much like Black Sabbath, AC/DC, Led Zeppelin. So now you can't win. And that's what happened with all these publications. They either went one direction or the other. But inevitably what happened is it kind of blew up on them that it gained so much steam that they were the younger version of Led Zeppelin. And then when they basically said, well, no, this is our music, this is us. And, and even Robert Plant said, wow, they sound like that, you know what I mean? And then they kind of like scoffed at that. There was a lot of blowback is what I'll say.
Yeah. And it must be their management.
Funny, you said the same thing I said. That's exactly what I said.
They're getting really poor advice.
Mm-hmm.
Why not acknowledge where you came from and what influenced you to write this music? Because it's obvious as the nose on Joe Pepitone's face.
Yeah.
A lot of these viewers aren't going to know who Joe Pepitone is. But
I know who he is. I was in a winter circle with him at Monticello Raceway 16 years ago. Yankees.
I love Pepitone.
Huh?
Believe it or not, I mean, I'm a diehard, as you can see in the back of me.
I know, I was looking up there.
I'm in my war room right now.
Downstairs in your basement, I could tell by the floor
yeah.
So yeah.
Joe Pepitone was my all-time favorite. I got to tell you this quick, funny story. A lot of people know that I was a musician for many years. I got sick and I lost half use of my hands and I couldn't play anymore. But I had a lot of fun in 30 years, Mike. So I'm playing down in the Catskills. I was working at this resort. It was an Italian resort and it was mobbed up. I had worked. No, not the
I don't want to go off the beaten path.
It's right in the town of Catskill.
Oh, okay.
And it was Italian run. Let's put it that way.
And ownership.
I worked there for years. So the way the format was the band played. Then they had the floor show, which could have been a comedian, dance act, anything like that. They got done with their 60 minutes at huge money. And then the band went back on for slave wages. So I worked with this comedian out of Westchester County. You may have heard of his name was Jackie Fontana. Jackie was the funniest guy I've ever heard in my life, without swearing. So he said to me one night, he says, "You're a Yankee fan, right?" I says, "Yeah." He says, "Who was your favorite Yankee?" I said, "Joe Pepitone." So what's he do? He says, "Stick around when you get done playing tonight." So when I got done, he says, "You ready for this?" And then through the door walks Joe Pepitone. Well, we sat there for the next 2 hours, drinking Black Zambuca and talking about the Yankees. But that was like a highlight. So not to get off the beaten path of the music, but that's my Pepe story.
He used to come up every year to similar thing that, the Catskills, they say the resort areas were Monticello, Liberty, South Fallsburg, Grossinger's, the Concord, Kutcher's, all those places, the Raleigh, Browns, where Jerry Lewis got his start. That's all just up the road from me here in Middletown. So, but I used to race horses at Monticello, and for years before, the PR guy used to bring Pepe up to do a presentation race every year.
Right.
With some stupid name, and he would hand the trophy over, and I finally win it. And he gave me the trophy. I have no idea what I did with it, but I got to meet him once.
He was my all-time favorite. But getting back to the new music, we were definitely in agreement with Mariah. First time you heard this girl, you knew she had the goods. Just the songwriting, the performance, the drive to succeed. Her life is music.
She was a baby then. I called her a baby then. Still,
well, it's funny you said that, because last time we spoke face to face, we were talking about my programming. I said, yeah, this past week I played this and this. She said, yeah, oh, the baby Mo. That's what she calls it from her Bring It On album.
Baby voice. That's what I call it.
Well, you can hear her music evolving now.
Oh, yeah. And it's powerful, more powerful every time I hear
it. Champion. What an outstanding song that is. I don't care what you think. I mean, she's all over the place, and she can handle any type of music. You see that with the video she's posting, and that is so heartbreaking, because in my mind's eye, she was on her way. Same thing with Dirty Honey was about to hit big.
Rock and roll was gaining steam and snowballing. We finally had a little bit of a head of steam coming out of last year.
Mike, I'm not going to disparage any artist, but maybe because I was brought up on the 1-4-5 stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the basics of rock and roll right there. But your talent's got to shine on stage, number one. You shouldn't have to use these voice modulations in the studio that you cannot possibly replicate on stage live. Well, with the technology, you might be able to, but who wants to hear that? We want to hear your voice. We want to hear your talent. We don't want to hear what electronics. That's like, going. I use Boston. Remember the band in Boston, for an example? They were a studio rock band. Auto-tune. I'm not kidding you. The first time I went to see them, I don't know, it might have been 78, 77, 78 when they first hit. The sound was atrocious. The harmonies were not there live. What you heard on that hit album, they could not replicate that on stage live.
Look what George Harrison and Ringo Starr said about like a song like Nowhere Man.
Yeah.
When they were experimenting, right? With the tracking and they said, these are songs, yeah, they were fun and they were great when we recorded them, but we could never play them live.
No.
All right. I mean, that's how far back that goes. And like you said, same thing. And even that, for them, they said, because they were the people who call like the Beatles not a rock band, a rock and roll band, were a rock and roll band that became a poppy band that, then the teenagers were screaming. But their roots say they didn't want to do that kind of music. They wanted to still be a rock and roll band.
Yeah, but you listen to, one of the best rock and roll movies of all time, Let It Be.
Right.
That the rooftop scene,
mm-hmm.
When they're doing I've Got a Feeling, One After 909, Get Back, they were a rock and roll band.
Yeah, they did their time. And what I'm saying is when they first became popular and came over here, we didn't initially see the band the working band that they were in Germany and know, their blood and guts were true rock and roll. So it's just one of those things that I do argue with a lot of people on Keep Rock Alive when we'll say, you know, my question is who in your opinion is the most influential rock and roll band of all time? My answer is the Beatles. Then people say they weren't rock and roll, they were a pop band. That's where it all goes off the rails. But anyway, you know,
you really got to group some of the classics from that era. You know, it wasn't just the Beatles. You got to throw groups like the Who in. They were punk before punk was even thought of.
Yeah.
You know, Led Zeppelin, you know, hit in 68, 69, influential in the whole deal. And you also got to throw in, you know, it's off the beaten track, but you got to throw in people like James Brown, the Temptations.
Absolutely.
You know, because there was just so much great music back then that was produced.
The history of rock and roll.
You know, bands that hit for a couple years like Humble Pie, one album wonder, Cactus. You know, groups like that, they were just pure balls to the wall rock and roll. Grand Funk before they sold out. Who was better than Grand Funk?
Yep.
Then oh my God, they're producing this commercial bullshit. And you know, the same thing with Kiss when they came. What was that tune, Beth? Give me a break. I mean,
and the disco song, "I Was Made for Loving You," right?
Oh yeah.
I'm ashamed to say what the biggest hit, right?
I'm ashamed to say my band did that back in the 70s.
But you have to, because how many people were screaming for it when it was popular, and you know,
they were dancing.
Right.
You know,
you just got to do what you got to do. But I mean, there's a lot of things. We've asked, like, when do you feel, in your opinion, when was heavy metal born? You know, and I'll always say with the debut album of Black Sabbath, or I'll even go further back. I say heavy metal was born when Tony Iommi got his fingertips chopped off,
right?
Because it forced him to create in the power chord and those, you know, that sound. But you can go back and argue for two songs, like I always say, well, you know, for the people saying like the Beatles aren't a rock and roll band, they actually had a little metal in them. Helter Skelter and Revolution.
Yeah.
Listen to those songs. If they didn't tell you that was the Beatles, you wouldn't think it was the Beatles. You know?
Listen to John Lennon's Cold Turkey. Same thing. That screaming guitar in the background.
But all those little ingredients were there. And that's the beautiful thing about rock and roll. Like, a guitarist in a band might have heard something obscure in an album, and you know what I mean? And that's that's why I think it survives even now. You know, how long have they been, Vito, you'll know this, how long have they been saying rock is dead? Since the day it was born.
Yeah, ever since I can remember. Right. I remember my father saying it's never going to last.
Right, it's always dying. How many songs have been written about it? And I talked about this with Nick the other day. I had a little moment. I go, if you want to be rock and roll, be rock and roll. You know, It's not about being mamby-pamby, and nobody ever says it. But I said, you go all the way back to the 50s, rock and roll was the middle finger. You know, when we was communist and was being investigated by fucking, happened in the 80s. But back then, we've been accused of being devil worshippers, the way you dance, all of it. And the music, that just made it that much more popular. And it was a voice for the teenagers. That's what we're missing.
Some of these young musicians, they need to go back and listen to the Chuck Berrys, the Jerry Lee Lewises, Dwayne Eddy, guys like that in the 50s that were really influential in the development. Little Richard.
Great.
Just so much talent. And you know what? Here was the thing, and why they were successful. They gave people what they want, not what they thought people wanted. They gave people exactly what they wanted. And that's why they were popular. They wrote music that was danceable, music that people could relate to, music that had a message, and they weren't dropping one motherfucker in any part of the lyrics.
Right.
And
Oh,
this is what I don't understand about some of the music there that we get that comes my way. People send me directly. They'll send me MP3s of it. And I tell people all the time on the air, if you're going to send me music, I'm not a prude by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't want to. I don't want to play it on my radio show. I can on my new station if I wanted to. We've got one song we play. Now our station owner, Artie Fredette,
mhm.
Artie plays with a group. They're called the Lawn Sausages. And believe it or not, Michael, these guys are probably raised. They do fundraising events in a lot of cases, besides recording, but they've raised probably $150,000, maybe $200,000 over the years. They did a Louie marathon one time where they played Louie for 6 straight hours with different musicians going up, who's grabbing a guitar, who's going off stage, type of deal. But they've got a song, it's called She's Got a Cock.
Oh, God.
And it's about a girl who owns a rooster. But
Play on the words.
These guys are so freaking funny. But at this station, I have the freedom to play this. And getting back to my point, yeah, you could say it. And I want, like my previous station, where I'd have to drop the volume down at certain points of songs. I have a local artist called Giacomo. They're a funk and soul band. And there's one line that says shaking them asses. Oh my God, the first time I played it, you would have thought I toppled over a statue of the Blessed Virgin over at the college where the radio station was. So having the freedom to do what I want now, I don't push it. I don't push the envelope just for the sake of decency and the fact that we're selling advertising over there.
Mm-hmm.
But Mike, I've got an incredible music library. Oh my God. it is spectacular. I don't have rows of Barry Manilow. Not that it was bad music, but I don't want to play it. I don't have 4 albums by Madonna. I've got actual rock and roll. I've got blues. I've got swing. I've got whatever I want in there, whatever I ask for. They add to the library. My previous station, I was there over 5 years. They loaded up, they added to my library 22 songs in 5 years. This station, as soon as I went in, boom, bing, bang, boom, 200 plus songs that I asked for in the system. I'm enjoying it.
The other thing, like you kind of mentioned it here just now, like at what point did we get this thin-skinned? And this is something that I say, I think secretly hurts rock and roll, because it's easy to say what I say when I tell bands and artists, listen, the soul of rock and roll and that attitude that resonates or relates to that kid who's going through the same thing is whatever it is at that moment that made you write that lyric, don't change it. And now I'm finding myself stepping back going, all right, but if they do, they're going to piss off half the people. Is it going to give them a bad reputation? Is it going to discredit that? You know what I mean? You got to second guess yourself now about what you say and how you say it.
Well, Mike, which brings up another point, and I feel very, very strongly about this. Musicians should leave their politics home. You don't bring it to the stage, because you know what? And I've explained this to a couple of bands that were on both sides of the aisle. You might piss somebody off. Instead of keeping everybody happy, you're there and you're working for me or for this particular town to entertain people. not share your politics. I even went so far when I was doing the downtown Troy events. I had one artist that I knew was a little bit sketchy with their actions on stage. Let's put it that way. So naturally, when they went on stage, I was sitting at the soundboard with the tech, and they started their shit in between songs. And I told the sound tech, power down. And she's looking all over, and I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't know. So this went on for three and a half minutes. And I went up to the stage and I called her down and I said, do me a favor. No more politics or the show's over. She didn't say anything any longer. I mean, there was nothing else coming out of her mouth political. I hired you to freaking entertain people. Entertain. Young artists in particular, I tell them all the time, leave your politics at home. It's such a polarizing topic these days. You see on social media, Michael, longtime friends not talking to each other. I mean, it's stupid shit. It's crazy.
People living in the same house are unfriending each other. I mean, it's so fucking asinine now.
This is when we need music more than ever, Mike.
I know, and I this is something I talked about with Nick the other day, that music should be unifying, and it's something that we, even rarely do you go to a concert, especially a rock concert. Does any of that happen? Even if you have people on differing opinions and different sides, they're all there for what's on stage.
Exactly.
And we can get along. And even if there is a little disagreement or bump or altercation, usually it ends with buying a beer. And where did those days go? But I tell, I tell the kids, and like you're saying, is it worth the risk now? No. If you come out and that is your agenda from day one, or if you go to see Rage Against the Machine, and you're offended by politics or something, don't go see Rage Against the Machine. They're upfront with who they are. Okay.
Yeah.
But don't be that band that is popular and suddenly uses their popularity as a platform.
Exactly.
That's when I don't want to not like a band, or I'm not going to burn all their records because they said something that I don't agree with. But why do that? Why piss off your fans who've been with you for, 25, 30, 50, whatever, decades? Suddenly now you're going to take a stance. Don't.
People need to be entertained these days.
Right.
It was funny, Mike. Back in August, I did an event for seniors. One of the outlying towns in the county, the southernmost end. And we were, we did the crop circles and all that crap. Roped off an area. People had to be 16 feet away from the stage area. And, I got the average age at this show was probably, other than, some of the staff from the senior center or whatnot, about 70 to 75 years old. Well, outside the concert area, the roped off area, we had total maybe about 250 people or so. They were all seniors. Michael, to see these people get out and get up, and they were dancing. Now, I wasn't going to stop some 75-year-old woman from dancing with her girlfriend from the senior center when they had already said to me, this is the first time we've been out of the house since March. The senior centers were closed down. The band was appropriate. They were all older guys. and they were playing stuff from the 60s, 70s. And people knew the words. They were singing along.
And
Point is, people need the outlet now.
Yeah.
The
You made that day.
They've been in the house too long. They've been suppressed. We're not a society that is used to being suppressed
No.
in any way, shape, or form. But you know what, Mike? Honest to God, some people have said that you're playing Russian roulette. I haven't changed anything in my life since this started. I wear a mask where it's appropriate to wear a mask. I'm a germaphobe to begin with. I've been on these same vitamins they've been recommending, vitamin C, vitamin D3, and zinc. I've been on this regimen every single day for 6 years. When I started this regimen of vitamins and I stopped the flu shot, I stopped getting sick. I'll get something for a day, maybe 2 days, but I've been sick a total of 7 days in 6 years. So I haven't changed anything. My wife and I would go out to eat once a week. We frequent our local restaurants. We go shopping when we want. The only thing that's pissing me off is I can't cross the border. I can't go up to Massachusetts. I can't go up to Vermont. And that's a nice ride for us, you know. Mm-hmm. People down your way, they drive in the fall. They come up to look at the freaking leaves. Seriously. So, that's the only thing that's really changed, my ability to travel a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, 2 days ago, the border of Pennsylvania now too. You can't go that way. Less than 24 hours.
So you're landlocked.
Huh?
We're landlocked in New York State.
Oh yeah. Well, if you listen to Governor Cuomo today, he already set us up, and he's doing exactly what he did in the spring. When we could tell 3 to 5 days ahead of time what was going to happen by what he said. And he says, look, we're heading toward another New York pause. And I said right there, well, I think you might see it. I posted on Facebook. So what's the over under? I put the over under at 10. 10 days.
The tourism industry in New York State has lost over $80 billion. $80 billion.
Absolutely. And a lot of, he's screaming about that. And again, I try to stay down the middle of it. And anyone with a half a brain can see the reality. But if you look, I look at, especially now, because I normally take my son down to San Gennaro in September, canceled, right? They started allowing dining outside, blah, 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 25% inside if you had the correct ventilation, all that shit. Okay, whatever it is, we can scream, that's what it is. Then the holidays come, virtual Thanksgiving Day parade, 1 block. And now,
I'm sorry.
I know, that's why I say it that way, 1 block. And there were people down there saying they wish they hadn't gone. Well, why would you go? What do you want me to say? The balloon's going to go down past, just from one corner to the other, and that's it. What were you expecting? But now they're talking about the tree lighting. It's going to be by invitation, whatever. Nobody really there, and then you have to have tickets to go stand in the crop circles for 5 minutes to see the tree this year. But what I told everybody is friends of mine or people up here would say, well, isn't the city open? And I said, open, go on EarthCam during the middle of the day, on a weekday, and look at Times Square or Mulberry Street, who has some outdoor dining. And you'll think it's a Sunday Christmas or something. There's nobody in the city. Most of the people aren't working there. All the entertainment, Broadway shows are closed till June now, not January, June. So like you said, tourism, which is the arts and entertainment in New York City, is non-existent. No restaurants. What do you got? A ghost town.
You got Ungats is what you got. Ungat.
I showed my son because he wanted to go, and I said, look at this. There was nobody eating at the tables at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon between Canal Street, where the cigar store is. And, and a restaurant that I've seen forever is out of business. So what does that tell you? And that's just,
well,
17,000 empty apartments right now in New York City, vacant. When do you
The
hear
ones
that?
that, a lot of the people don't have to pay their rent. So the landlords, I've been speaking with a lot of those guys, what's the answer? Where do you come to some middle ground on this thing? Why are people, let's face it, the people who wanted this, they've seen how easy they can control the populace now.
Mhm.
Who the hell knows what's coming next? So you know what, Mike? My wife and I were prepared. I've been buying toilet paper for the last 6 weeks, 2 mega packs every week.
So that's
I got
you doing that. Because the other day they're only selling one.
every week. Every week, I go to different spots and I get 2 mega packs of Charmin. So now I got 200 and some rolls. I'm set. I got two freezers in my house. They're stocked.
See,
I
that's
got
what I'd be
food.
worried about.
Yeah,
You need
yeah. Well, I gotta have my flank steak to make bruschetta. I gotta have my ground pork to make the meatballs. I got plenty of imported tomatoes. I've got jarred tomatoes. I'll have sauce. I'll be eating good for a while. So I'm not really overly worried about it. My
Oh, yeah.
my wife's a hairdresser. She got shut down 11 weeks in the spring. Here's a woman who hasn't stopped working since she was 13 years old. And she hated being a housewife and having to cook for me.
That's a huge blow. And that's what some of these kids they can't relate to that. Like when my grandfather was forced to retire, I think, my father and I agreed. He used to go back and cook for the guys. He worked on the docks in New York City. So he'd go back and they'd say, Frank, you can't come here anymore. After they finally forced them off. But it's what we say, that's what killed him. After all those years of work, and he just couldn't handle it. He got sick and he didn't last. He was just healthy as a bull when he was at work.
That's one thing I'm worried about too, with people who aren't used to this. I've seen the numbers we've actually had more overdose deaths in our county than COVID deaths.
Mm-hmm.
I think the COVID deaths are at 52, 53 since the beginning of all this. But the amount of overdoses, numbers are staggering. Liquor stores are happy.
Oh, yeah. They kept them open right from day one as an essential.
626% increase in sales.
Yep.
So, and that's a statewide number. But what's gonna happen? Where these bands gonna go play when it all ends? Who ends it?
How does it end? When does it end? What's left after it's over? We're watching every week. I'm hearing 2 or 3 places that the name is recognizable in my head.
Yeah,
they're gone. Last week I took Black Dawn 51 and Queen's gone. I could, when I interviewed Mariah, she couldn't believe it. That's where she opened for last in line. Look at Chrome. Now they reached out to help. I don't even know, and I guess what Jupiter Hall went out of business too in the Crossroad in the Cross Gates.
Cross Gates, yeah. Well, Skyway, Jupiter Hall closed down a while ago. Remember Mariah played there.
Yeah.
And Skyway, which was bringing in, I mean, they have bands like Vanilla Fudge coming in, Mike. They're trying to bring in these bands who may have been big at one time, and they haven't been doing much the last few years, but it's a recognizable name. They sold a lot of tickets. They were packing the place. It was a beautiful venue. They sunk incredible money into the sound system, the lighting, the stage area. It was a professional music venue. Gone.
And that's only like a year or two, right? Not even.
Really? They came out of the gate hard, Mike, sort of like when you were riding those ponies. You had to come out hard, but then they got lost in the backstretch with all this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, there wasn't enough time to accumulate any kind of cushion.
No. Chrome, Darla really did a lot for local music over the years. Our radio station got involved and was the radio sponsor for the telethon they did. How sad is this? People who want to work, they don't want to sit home. They want to bring something to the community, and they can't do it.
I don't know.
Government's got people so damn scared right now. Who knows if we're going to come out of it? Who knows how many empty buildings there's going to be? Thank God the price of plywood's supposed to go down in the spring because of the futures trading on the Canadian wood. Seriously.
It's true for the boarding up the windows.
Yeah. You're seeing it all over.
Well, Neva is saying, and people thought this number was ridiculous. And I said, not when you really sit down and think about it from the perspective of just being just a business. It's possible that, depending on how long this goes, 90% of the music venues in the United States might not survive this. And why not? Why wouldn't that number be realistic when you think about it? If this goes on for a year, who can hang on? Just because if you look at all the clubs and they're usually privately owned. And it's just, people, like you said, that poured their life into it and their savings or whatever. Now they got to survive. They can't just starve waiting for this to end and continue paying maybe rents or a mortgage or insurance and their insurances and their minimal overhead just for the billing to sit there.
What about the young artists? What about the Mariahs? What about the Greta Van Fleets? What about the Dirty Honeys?
Well, what do we always say right now? Where do they make their real bones? Is you can put all the music out that you want because now anybody can with the digital age. Sell your music, try to build a following like we're doing, on social media or whatever. But where it really happens is on stage and on tour and truly building a fan base that's not just regional. And then hopefully, being able to tour in venues where like the major labels and the big business of music makes their money on big tours. It's not the music anymore. So without the stages, and we're seeing bands starting to drop off now too. Without being able to gig, they're going to disappear.
They got to get day jobs now.
Yeah,
not making any money.
Reality. You have to work.
You got to pay your bills.
Right.
This reality is setting in.
And that's hard for any artist to, people might say, okay, well, maybe just in the meantime, it's a tremendous blow to them mentally, even physically. It's a stake through their heart that you go from doing what you love, creating something, creating music, making people happy, maybe finding some success and working your ass off for it, and then all of a sudden you're basically told, no, you can't. And if you do, it's illegal. Like what were we talking about? The governor making it illegal to even advertise new music.
Yeah.
I mean, not new music, live music.
Yeah, exactly.
It's illegal. And I'm thinking, I was trying to, how does this work? Like, how do you write that? It's not a law. It can't be a law because it has to go through the proper channels. So this is what, an executive order that says, and I try to give them the benefit of the doubt, but you're flat and you're not even listening to these people because of all the guys that's gone to bat for it. The music is Chuck Schumer, right? At least a little bit. I mean, I don't want to go there, but
hopefully, yeah. But
he says he is, But in the long run, nothing's moved at all. It's been just no.
you
right
give
now,
all
two things: no live sports, no real in the city, no entertainment basically whatsoever, and no live music on any scale what's under a roof, at least in New York State, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's it.
Um,
I drive past places that were, that had music or still have, and they're just sitting there. So what's next? I guess they're not opening until there's a vaccine and whoever deems this thing over, whenever that day comes, that's when we'll be able to have live music again. And I was going to ask you this, in your opinion, I got a time frame in my brain that I think we'll turn the corner and maybe start to see it come back. What do you think? Where they'll finally say, okay, everything, we're good, green light, go.
we're a year off,
Thank you. I mean, I hate to say it that way. Thank you, but
maybe more. But here's the thing: in our county, we're already planning for this summer. Same rules are going to be in effect. You're going to have to get thermal scan when you're coming in, hand sanitizer, crop circles.
And plus, even after that, another thing in the equation is, maybe once this is over, people have been pounded in the brain so hard, we almost got to lure them back. I see one of two things happening. There's people that are going to be still afraid, and there's people that are going to jump over the fence just to get back in, one or the other.
Who the hell knows?
We don't know.
You don't know. You've got the governor who's running unchecked with no oversight whatsoever, because the state legislature, both houses, have turned over full power to him.
Mm-hmm.
He can basically do what the hell he wants to do. People have probably pissed him off enough by now that he's going to put the screws to everybody. He's not taking into consideration the people who are really struggling, the people who want to work, who want to earn their living, who want to apply their trade. They don't want to sit home and be taken care of by the government. Okay.
And like you said, this isn't just, it's not just the bands, it's the guy that checks IDs at the door. It's the barmaid, it's the bartender, it's the waiter, waitress, it's the porter, it's the cook, it's the dishwasher, it's everybody. There's a lot of jobs.
Let's talk about the sound company for a big show. The sound company that brings in the lighting company, all the people associated with that, the stage hands, the people who set up the trusses, who set up whatever, even the drum riser. What are those people doing?
Home.
Nothing. They're sitting home with their fingers up their ass, trying to figure out what to do. There are some, I hate these over the computer shows.
I think,
but I'll promote them. I'll promote them. I've got some friends of mine. One of them is the lead singer with the Refrigerators, who lost, I don't know how many hundreds of gigs this year.
They play constantly.
All over. He started what's called Cover Band TV.
That's who that is?
Yeah, Kevin Brandow and Peter Jones, who Peter used to work with Greg Gamache, the sound guy up at Wicked. So Peter and Kevin started this, and Kevin's got a studio set up somewhere in the bowels of East Greenbush, New York. These things I'll promote. You know why? Because these are musicians, sound companies that I've worked with, and that I'm going to support any way I can, because there's only so many gigs to go around that I'm going to have this summer. Refrigerators are going to be a couple places, no doubt, because they draw huge. They're real people, and they're fun to work with, and they put on, they entertain people. They put on a show.
Their live streams are awesome. They do multiple camera angles and the lighting. It's you know what it reminded me of? the old 70s rock shows on Saturday night on Channel 4, like
Yeah.
on Kirshner. I swear to God, that's what it reminded me.
Kirshner's rock
Yeah,
concerts.
it really did.
Um,
Wolfman Jack, Midnight
it's,
Special.
yeah, baby, this Wolfman Jack. uh,
It did.
but you know, Mike, this another good thing about being with the radio station I'm with right now, having the freedom. I mean, our station owner is all about local music. We've got one show. I'm not trying to get plugs. I just want to kind of get my
Good.
point
That's what
across.
we're here for. Plug away.
Jim Barrett. I love busting his balls. I do this running gag where I say he's in the studio with me, and then when I ask him a question, I just start snoring into the microphone. Jim he does a show called Kaleidoscope. Kaleidoscope is the longest running show of its kind in the United States. A lot of people don't realize that. 53 years he's been at it. And Jim's always been sort of like a mentor to me in radio. I've been involved with radio for quite a few years. I was a character on a very popular show for a couple of years, and I was at my previous gig, but Jim is basically the one who got me at my previous station to begin with. And having him at Radio X, and he was the innovator. He was the guy that started playing local music on the airwaves for people, opening up the door, for idea stealers like myself to do the same thing and just kind of take it to the next level. I always kid Jim. I say, yeah, you play local music, but I play good local music.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, our station owner, Artie, is a great guy. Bar owner. Artie was the first guy to bring in Albert Cummings when he was just starting out as a blues guitarist into the Troy area. Artie had a bar called P4 back in the day, and it was a music venue. You had a hell of a lot of fun there also, right in the heart of downtown Troy, when Troy was pretty dead. It's alive now, but Artie took a chance when it was dead, and he did pretty well there, and he put a lot of people to work. So being at the station with guys like this, at a station where I get respect for what I'm doing, mm-hmm. and they understand the mission. My previous station did not understand the mission I'm on here. That's to promote local music primarily and up and coming bands. Radio X, they get it. And we've got, I worry every day because we're a station that survives on advertising. What if nobody advertises? I'm done on the radio. I rolled the dice with this, Mike. I was stable and secure where I was. Screw it. I don't want to be stable and secure. I want to push the envelope a little bit. I want to play the music I want to play. 50% of my show is local music. Somebody actually said to me, I listen to your show and it's great, but you play a lot of Mariah Formica's music. How come I can't get a spin? When you put out music like Mariah's putting out, you get plenty of spins. Devote yourself to your craft.
Right.
Make yourself better. Give me good recordings. We're not a station that wants to play, some echoey bullshit that you recorded in your freaking basement.
Well, that's what I wrote.
Do it correctly.
Right.
Simple as that.
If you've been following along at all, I mean, you know how I started Keep Rock Alive out of necessity, that when Mariah left for the Voice, I said to Josh, and I took something she said and started this. And same idea, support, newer music. I kissed a little ass at first with the classic rock stuff just to get followers, but now I'm basically, that's all you see here. We're pushing 1,500 new music clips. So we'll call that 1,500 songs, but I don't know how many have been sent to me. And at first I felt bad, but then I said, you know what? I'd rather just be honest. I tell all the bands now, if it's rock and roll and it doesn't suck, it goes up. And that's it. Because I've heard some good music that's poorly recorded, engineered, mixed, whatever. And I go, you know what? I just don't want you to sound bad. And people are going to say it. They're not going to, like, if it sounds like crap, you recorded it in a garbage can,
Yeah,
you know,
great.
I'm not going to play it. At least take the time and make it better for yourself. Don't just do it to throw it out there. And the other one is if it stinks, I might not say it that way. I'll just say it doesn't, hey, doesn't make the format or whatever. I feel bad all the time saying if I have to say no, because who the hell am I? But I don't judge it by my likes or my taste. I judge it by simple. As long as it sounds good and it's actually rock and roll.
I try to be nice about it. If I'm not giving it airplay, at least respond to some of the people that send me music.
Mm-hmm.
But Mike, some of this stuff here, it's almost comical.
I know.
And I'm saying,
I've had a few that came in just in the past week, and I mean, you don't want to be rude. And I've had actually a couple of conflicts too, where I said, I don't know what I might have said. No, it just doesn't fit. And then they come back with, well, it's gotten awards, and I'm like, and it's being played worldwide, and I don't want to fight. And
have a
yeah,
good luck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to come back with, well, that award somebody printed, I mean, I don't want to be the jerk. Listen, it's just not us.
Listen, I'm nobody. I'm a DJ on a local. Well, it's a worldwide station, but it's local to my area. So who am I? The only thing I know is something I'm good at in life, and I know talent.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to be constructive about it. Make it almost like it's not criticism. It's just, here's how you're going to get better. Here's what you should be doing. I don't know a lot about a lot of things, but I know music, and I know good music and what it is and how it's put together and what it should sound like. Thank God at the radio station, we do get some stuff that is just absolutely incredible. And we just want to keep pushing it. I don't know how we did it, Mike. 2 years in existence, we beat in a local readers poll for one of the bigger newspapers, one of the two big newspapers. We beat all the commercial radio stations. It's unbelievable, and that's hard work on our station owner's part. Me, I go in there once a week, get my show in the can. They rebroadcast it. It's broadcast Saturday night, 6 to 9, and then they rebroadcast it 2 to 5. And that was something I wanted at the previous station. Just a little thing, rebroadcast it for people who can't listen on Friday nights, my old time slot. Mm-hmm. So like I said, I'm getting respect over there. And I'm there with people who have the same agenda as me to push local music right to the edge, man.
There's again, how we'll wrap this up is my battle on Keep Rock Alive is where I just ask people, because like I said, we have 19,000 followers, and I look at the interaction, and a lot of people listen to music. Got a lot of really cool followers who are truly into the new music. Put their hand in their pocket, support these bands financially by buying their music direct and sharing the word. There are people out there, and this week I've had a whole bunch of them, and I kind of saved you for last toward the end because I've mentioned you many times over the last few years, and
I know that. I thank you.
But I'm glad you're here to hear it from us older guys. Let's just say
that. Mike, I admire what you do and your passion for rock and roll.
I love it.
That's why right now I have time to do things like this, and I'm really enjoying it. And I'm just so thankful you asked me to come on as a guest.
No, I'm great.
Appreciate it.
I was happy to have you here finally, Vito. And like I said, eventually, I told the kids too, you know, I don't know, what's it been 2 years since I've been up to Albany. I haven't seen them, you know, and we're just gonna have to ride it out. That's it, you know, forget all the other shit. Just do what you're doing. And one day we're gonna be able to look back and say, geez, how the hell?
How we get through this?
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
If it ain't gonna beat us, and it's only gonna make us stronger. We're the survivors, okay? We're from a different generation.
Mhm.
And, you know, I feel bad for, you know, some of these kids. They just don't have hopefully they'll develop to get up and go. And
This might be that the answer we're talking about.
Yeah. So they
Got
got
it pretty easy. Everything's at their fingertips, you know, and now here comes a little bit of, you know, they're being tested. Let's see what you're made of.
And I tell people, life, you know, something my father said to me years ago, life's just something that's happening when you're making plans. So be prepared.
Perfect.
So, you know, I am. I got all the toilet paper. I got my Brajol. I got my meatballs. I got my sauce. What the hell else do I need in life? You know, my age.
Making me hungry. I'm starving.
Okay, go Maj.
All right. All right, Vito. I appreciate you stopping by, and do it again somewhere else.
Okay, we'll talk soon, buddy.
All right, Vito. Be good.
Mona Zaid.
Thanks, man. Thanks.